If you really do not do long distance and you are in this predicament where you're with somebody, especially when you just started dating and they're in another state, do not move to that state if you are not willing to keep moving like that for the rest of your life. I'm sorry. I know people shouldn't think like that, but the expectation you set in the beginning of the relationship is the expectation of how the relationship is gonna go. Hello, my wonderful gems. How are you? I hope you're doing amazing. If you're a returning gem, welcome back. If you're new here, hello, how are you? Make sure you subscribe to the vibe, and if you like what you're listening to, then please feel free to like and subscribe to this channel. Okay, so as usual, we just jump into the story for the episode. So this title, this title is very interesting. The title is I Don't Want My Partner Traveling for Work. What do I do? Let's just jump in. I'm 25 and my partner is 24. And we've been together since 2020. We got engaged this year in May. At the start of our relationship, he was at an out-of-state college. And I've always been big on not doing long distance relationships because I don't see them working ever. Parentheses, this is just my opinion. I was asked to move to said state when it was the time for him to go back, which I happily did. I left my stable job and family for 2.5 years. Okay. So we would travel back for the holidays or we would both solo travel if needed for family. Since he graduated in 2021, we decided to move back to our home state. We currently live on my family's property. Since we moved home, we've both been working towards stable jobs. I've always told him I'll be his biggest cheerleader when possible. The issue comes along with this new job offer he received. Prior to taking this job, I had told him my expectations of my and I told him my expectations in the relationship. I don't and will not do long distance for work. I will also not deal with a partner who travels. I don't want to be a sole partner in a marriage or family. Now I can admit this is selfish of me. I just don't have the ability to handle the emotions that come with not having a partner to come home to or to celebrate holidays/birthdays. This said job told him traveling would happen once in a while, making it sound like once every few months. I would agree with that. It's not his second week, and he's already leaving Tuesday to Friday, with a possible 1 to 2 week trip at the end of September/early October. I told him when he presented these dates to me, saying, I'm totally fine with you loving this job, but I can/ won't be okay with traveling every month. I feel like every time I tell him, hey, this is how I feel about it, I get the impression that he's just trying to get me on board with the idea. Um, okay. There's a lot. I just want to talk. So I'm just gonna give my advice here. If this is you, well, this is from Reddit, so the person's probably not gonna get this. So if you're in a similar situation as this girl, yes, your partner is going to try to get you on board. You want to know why? You left your stable job to move to his university when he was at school. Yes, he's going to try to get you on board. There's a reason why you have these conversations in the beginning of the relationship. And when that thing happens, you cut it off right there. And I know it's difficult. I know it's difficult. You love this person. But if this is a non negotiable for you, you don't try to compromise, move to another state just because he's over there and you don't do long distance. If you really do not do long distance and you are in this predicament where you're with somebody, especially when you just started dating and they're in another state, do not move to that state if you are not willing to keep moving like that for the rest of your life. I'm sorry. I know people shouldn't think like that, but the expectation you set in the beginning of the relationship is the expectation of how the relationship is going to go. I understand why you did it. You probably really like this guy and you have a lot of stuff in common, but moving to another state when you have a stable job just because you can't do long distance I have a lot of stuff to say about that, but you were happy, so I'm not gonna give my advice on that. But if you've done it once, he's expecting you to do it again. So I understand where you're coming from. You're frustrated. You're telling him your feelings. You're telling him your boundaries. You're telling him this is what needs to happen for the relationship to work. But the fact is, you've already compromised. I'm sorry, but you have already compromised. He's just thinking, well, while I was in school, I convinced her to move over here. So why can't she do it again? Because you've already done it once. You've already proven to him that you're willing to bend and you're willing to bend to his will. It's sad, but it's true. This is why I always tell you guys, you have to know your boundaries. But then the second thing after knowing your boundaries is enforcing them when you have to. You can't just be like, well, let me just compromise with you on something that is a non-negotiable. It is a non-negotiable for you for a reason. Okay? Some people might think you're selfish, but I don't care. If you really have a non-negotiable for whatever that is, it is a non-negotiable for you for a reason. And no one should be telling you, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. They're not in your life. They might be able to empathize with your situation. They might try to understand, but they are not living your life. You are the one who is in charge of your life. You are the one who knows your life the best. So if this is really a non-negotiable, that relationship has to die. It just is what it is. But if you're going to compromise, expect to keep compromising again because it doesn't seem like it's a non-negotiable. So I can really understand both sides here. It's unfortunate because a lot of women do this, which is fine. It's fine that you do this, but just if you really have a non-negotiable, you have to put your foot down when that comes up. And if that means not being with that person for that time, you're not going to be with that person for that time. And if it means not being with that person for life, that's fine. You will find your forever partner out in a while. Don't be so fearful that you will never meet another person like this. That's ridiculous. Okay? There are 7 or 8 billion people in the world. Half of those are men, half of those are women. That's like 4 billion or 3.5. There is going to be another person you're going to connect with. Don't be so fearful and tell yourself no one else is going to love you the way this person is going to love you. Even if your non-negotiable is, I don't do long distance. That's okay. That's for you. No one else needs to understand it but you. Anyways, now that I got that out of my system, let me just go to the rest of the story. So I get the impression that he's just trying to get me on board with the idea. I've never been a partner to do ultimatums or it's me or this. I would just leave the situation if I know it's not working for me. Okay? Now I need to know if I'm overreacting. I feel like I've always made this clear and feel like he isn't understanding where I'm coming from. He's not understanding because you already compromised on it. You didn't make it clear. I mean, you verbally made it clear, but your actions said otherwise. A dumb example for this would be if, let's say, you're vegan or you're a vegetarian, but then you compromise on some days, you eat meat or you eat fish or whatever. People are not going to think you're actually living the life you want to live because it's like, well, if on Fridays you're eating meat, then are you really a vegetarian or vegan? Anyways, you compromised, so you did not actually make it clear. You verbally made it clear. You told him this is what you won't tolerate, yet you compromised when the time actually presented itself. When it was time for you to put your foot down, you bended. You traveled to another state. So yes, he's expecting you to bend again because you've done it before. So you're not really, it's going to sound harsh, but it doesn't seem like you're a woman of your word. It doesn't seem like you're willing to stand firm in the boundaries you've made for yourself. It doesn't seem like it. It seems like if you love someone enough, then you're going to bend. And to be fair, how old is she? You're 25. So I am going to cut you some slack here. It's okay. Okay. This is that time, your 20s, or I always say your 20s are your years of exploration because this is a time when you mold yourself into the person you want to be, into the woman or the man you want to be. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take relationships like this where you don't fully stand firm because, you know, you care for them, you love them, you want to be there with them, or you genuinely have a good time with this person and you can't see them out of your life. Yet, they're doing this just one thing that it's a non-negotiable for you, but everything else is good. What do you do then? This is kind of relating back to my other video where I think I titled it Breaking Up with a Good Person. I think a lot of us are afraid, especially women, are afraid to break up with a good person that does not work for us because they're a good person. It's That's not enough. You should be happy in a relationship. You should be fulfilled in a relationship. When you come home after a long day of work, whether you like your job or not, that's irrelevant. But when you come home after a long day of work and your partner is there, you should rush out of the car to get into the house, not drive by the house, stay in the car, linger a while, maybe go around in circles and then come back. Absolutely not. And grant you, I've been there. I've lingered in the car, so I know how it feels like, and I'm just too old to. I'm not gonna tolerate it. I'm too old to tolerate that BS, and I don't think anyone should. But I understand. I understand, and I completely get it. So I don't want to just like feel like I'm attacking you, but the reason why he's pushing is because you gave him that out. You showed that you were willing to bend and compromise on a non negotiable. You don't want to do that, especially if this is really a non negotiable for you. I don't think you should be explaining yourself as to why this is a non negotiable for you. I don't care. I have several non-negotiables. Some people might look at me and be like, that's a non-negotiable for you. Yes, for me it is because I know the type of person I am. I know how I act when I'm put in this space and it does not work. It does not work for me as an individual, me as a spiritual being, me and the way I see life. It just does not work. Whereas for some other people, this does work. This is something they're willing to compromise on. So if long distance is a non-negotiable for you, when you are presented with that option, I will always suggest for you to just stand firm. And if they're not willing to do it, break up. And if they happen to come back, you can rekindle that relationship, or now you just move on with your life because there is someone out there who is going to meet all those needs and be able to understand your non-negotiable. So that's just how I'm going to say that. But let's dive in. I don't think you're overreacting, especially if this is non-negotiable for you. I don't think it's overreaction. But you just need to know when to put your foot down and say no. And it's something that you have to learn with time. Unfortunately, putting your foot down and saying no is something that you have to learn on time. Especially when we're a society that tells women to say yes. And when a woman says no, she gets called the B word or gets called mean or blah, blah, blah. This is something you're going to have to learn to get comfortable with. And that comfort does set in with age. So you're 25. I'm not that worried, but it is a lesson that you're going to have to learn. Okay. I again said I know I'm selfish on the fact that I can't deal with his traveling, but I also wouldn't do that to my partner. Parentheses, especially if this has been an expectation that has been said over and over again. You have to show your actions, not just your word. I'm so sorry. I don't want either of us to be resentful down the line because I stayed doing something I knew I didn't like or holding him back. Or I didn't take this job because of you. That's very true. That is very true. If this issue is being so prevalent now, I know for myself it will be a huge issue later. I like to take a step back for some time, pause wedding planning, and just take it month by month. Oh my gosh, I forgot she was engaged. Yes, pause wedding planning and just take it month by month because I know it won't last more than a few months with his travel schedule. Yes, I have hobbies and friends. I also work well, but my expectation of a partner have always been I'll have someone to come home to, someone to lay next to while I sleep, to talk about the stupid things in my day, not trying to figure out if we can plan a FaceTime or plan life around, oh, you're gone this week. Okay, maybe next week. You're not here for our anniversaries. We can plan it another day. I read a stat that 60% of divorces happen because of partners' work schedule. I don't want to be a part of that stat, but I also know my mind isn't going to change on this subject. Okay. I feel like I'm just going into circles. The stats are great, the stats are fine, but the most important thing in relationship is communication. Communication about they say most divorces end up in finances. Communication about finances. communication about expectations in a relationship, communication about the type of partner you want to be and the type of partner you want the other person to be. All of that stems in communication. And I don't feel like there's enough um talk about this. There's enough game plan about this. Like we're just thrown to the world. Be like, well, go get a partner or a lifelong partner or whatever. And I feel like most of our relationship issues can be understood if we communicated and we were honest to our partners with our expectations, such as this lady, but even more than that, acted on those expectations. Yes, you said you don't like long distance. Yes, you have vocalized it time and time again. However, going back to your actions, you bended. When he was in another state, you moved over there. You left your well paying job to move over there. You bended. You have shown, even though you're saying this is a non negotiable, your actions are saying it isn't. It's very important for your actions and your word to be aligned. This is also why I don't think in a relationship you should be confused. And confusion stems from you saying one thing and doing the next. What's happening here? What's going on? Right? I feel like anybody, well, even friendship, not even just romantic relationship, but even platonic relationship, there should not be confusion there. If there's confusion there, something is amiss. We're not looking at life in the same way, which can be fine. You don't have to look at life exactly the same way. However, you should have a point of commonality, like certain values, certain beliefs, whatever that you are willing to agree on. And then other stuff, yes, those are stuff you can compromise with. But if long distance is something you cannot compromise with, do not travel to another state when your partner is in another state. I know it seems harsh, and I know some people might disagree with it, but I think it's just best to break up. And if they happen to come back, then they can come back. But now that you're here, honestly, listen, this person's probably never going to see this advice. So if you're in a similar situation where you have vocalized a non-negotiable to your partner, you said it time and time again, yet your actions have shown a different sign, honestly, I'm just going to tell you. And now you find yourself in a situation where you feel like they're not listening. They're just waiting for you to get on board for you to compromise again because you've already done it once, or maybe you've done it twice, but now you're tired because this isn't someone you are. You have to stand strong in your boundaries. You have to stand strong and say not this time and be willing to let the relationship fizzle out, however it's going to fizzle out. Do not compromise on your non-negotiables ever. All right? They are non-negotiables for a reason, especially for you. So no one needs an explanation of why this is a non-negotiable for you. You know why. Like this girl, she wants a partner who is there that she can come back home to. She's going to talk about a bunch of stuff and, goof off, have the time of their lives, whatever. Other people are okay with having a partner who travels about. Matter of fact, some people want their partners to travel around, not be at home 24/7. So this is a her issue, and I don't think she should be penalized or she should be judged because this is how she wants to live her life. She has seen that having a partner around or in her vicinity is best for her fulfillment, best for her enjoyment. She probably has that quality time, love language, whatever it is. Whereas other people who are willing to compromise on the travels once a month or maybe a couple of times a year, they're okay with not having their partners there 24/7. And neither one is good or bad. It's just what fits for your life, what fits for your personality, and what will be good for you. And it's unfortunate that she compromised, but now her partner thinks it's not a big deal. So I guess going back to the advice, because I just kind of ramble a little bit, which is fine. But going back to the advice, if you find yourself in a situation where you stated you're non-negotiable, only verbally, you stated you're non-negotiable, yet your action has shown you're willing to compromise, so this isn't really a non-negotiable, I think it is important for you to now just stand by it. And whatever happens to the relationship happens. And yes, it's going to be hurtful. Yes, you're going to cry. Yes, you might even want to call them back and try to compromise because you've already gotten in a routine. Like, this is also why I think these conversations should happen before you establish yourself in a relationship. Because once you've already gotten a routine, you're cozy, you're comfortable, you know how they are. It's hard to break away from that. All right. Yes, all of that is going to happen. But at the end of the day, if this is really a non negotiable for you, you will be happy and you won't have your partner resent you. Like she said, all the stuff that she said, that he might resent her for not taking this job because she's standing strong in her boundaries, she's enforcing her boundaries, even though she's just stated them before. Now she's actually standing in them. It's not an ultimatum. I just see this as, this is the way I want to live my life, and this is the type of partner I want to take along on this life journey. And if you're not that, that's okay. That's fine. And it's going to be hard, but I think it's a lesson we all have to learn. Because again, going back to the last episode, what's the point of being in a relationship if you're going to be miserable? Even if it's the long distance thing. Like, what is the point of being in a relationship if you are going to be miserable? Relationships are supposed to bring you happiness. Relationships are supposed to bring you a different perspective than your own, where you can learn more, grow more into a fuller version of yourself, not you just compromising and supporting a partner who gets to have it all while you're left with barely 50%. At least that's how I see it. Please let me know what you thought of this advice, and please feel free to put your own advice in the comment section. I would really like to appreciate that. All right. So thank you so much for spending your day with me. Even though this story is from Reddit, we usually do get our stories on our website, which is kitchentableadvice.com. That's where we get most of our stories, as well as business inquiries. Our website also has a plethora of other stuff. We have blogs that are just about anything in my mind right now. We have art that I have labeled weird contemporary art, as well as poems that take a dark turn. Or just a turn. No, it's a dark turn. All right. So if all that interests you, then please feel free to visit the website. So thank you so much for spending your day with me, and I see you next week. And I'm really going to try to be much more consistent because a lot of stuff have been happening and I can't just use life as an excuse. I don't know. For me, I'm not the type of person who likes using life as an excuse. So I'm really going to buckle down and be way more consistent. So I do apologize for my absence, but I am now back regardless of what happens in my life. All right. Thank you so much for spending your day with me. I'll see you next week. Bye.